Davenport is rising over the middle, and it's caught. Dalton Kincaid to the outside. He's home free. Touchdown, Utah.
And it's running right now. 2nd and 1 throw down the middle. And a beautiful jumping grab by Kincaid.
He really touched down with us when we spoke to them this week.
Mekhi Bernard in the game, and here's a flea flicker, rising with a ton of time. Got a receiver wide open, and it's caught for a touchdown. Dalton Kincaid got behind the defense, and Utah is on the board first.
Rising keeps, flips it, and slipping on the flat and hurdling is Dalton Kincaid. First down inside the 20, the athleticism.
That notable end of the game throw to Kincaid, moving to his left didn't look good. That's a dart to Kincaid, who's open over the middle. And Kincaid is going. And he's going, not quite going.
It's 16, got 27, 1st and goal. Utah inside. Kincaid, touchdown Utah.
Ahead here at Autzen and out of the timeout. Utah going for it on 4th down. Cam Rising throws. Kincaid with the catch and the spin, and he gets the first down.
Bootleg out to the right. The catch made by Dalton Kincaid. First down and more into the red zone.
End zone shot. Look at that adjustment. Kincaid spectacular.
He goes play action, and he dumps it off for the first down and more. That man again, Dalton Kincaid, swerving across the 25.
Had 3 tight ends on the field.
And Glover, the running back, play action on the boot, rising, throws into the end zone. It's tipped. Oh, and then it's caught for a touchdown. Kincaid with his 2nd of the game.
Why? It's why he does everything he does.
Across the middle, and a wide open target caught, upended. That's Kincaid. Rising, fakes it to Thomas, throws it to Kincaid coming across the formation. That's a Utah first down, and Kincaid tough to bring down. What a player.
Spreading it out for Rising. Throws for Dalton Kincaid, juggling. Did he catch it? He did.
What's happening, Bills Mafia? Ryan Thomas here, live on the Thomas Take Sports Podcast, of course. Coming back at you with another episode here, but this one, a special one to say the least. This is one that I always look forward to each and every draft. My NFL 2023 Buffalo Bills draft grade show. Draft grade show. That's what this is. That's what you're going to get. I'm going to go pick by pick, analyze the pick, give you my grade on the pick, and of course, give you my thoughts on where the Buffalo Bills stand moving forward from this year's NFL draft. Of course, this is my favorite season of the NFL off season. To me, there is no NFL quote unquote off season. I really love the NFL draft and what it brings to each team. Each team gets the chance to improve itself, and I feel like the Buffalo Bills did that. I feel like they did that. That might be the first, little caveat that I have in terms of my analysis. But I talked about Dalton Kincaid in one episode. That was the last episode of the show. You can get my thoughts on just the Dalton Kincaid pick, the trade up from 27 to 25. But we'll go back to that. We'll talk about that. We'll dive into that. And I'll let you guys fire away your comments in the comment section below, whether you're tuning in on Facebook, whether you're tuning in on YouTube, whether you're tuning in on any of the audio podcasting platforms. If, in fact, you're tuning in on the audio side of things, the episode has been recorded already. It's been posted already live. So you guys can check this show out live on Facebook and YouTube after the fact on the audio side of things. And you would be shocked at the amount of people that have asked me, where can I listen to your show? Where I want to listen to it. A lot of folks now are starting to understand how to listen to podcasts on their drive to work. much like I do, and apparently much like they do as well. So in case you're wondering where you can find this show, it's available on any and all audio podcasting platforms, which means Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, you name it, you can find this show. You can find this episode. And if you guys have any takes in regards to my takes or just takes of your own, feel free to fire away with my social media at me, at Ryan Thomas Take, and let me know how you feel about this 2023 Buffalo Bills draft. And I want to start off with Dalton Kincaid, a player that was highly rated among many teams' draft boards. And I want to start off by acknowledging that. We talked about it the other day that the Buffalo Bills did, in fact, move up from 27 to 25 to take Dalton Kincaid. And in doing so, it stole Dalton Kincaid away from the Dallas Cowboys, which, I mean, obviously that always has to make people happy. Anytime the Buffalo Bills can steal a player away from any team, let alone the Dallas Cowboys, that feels like we're righting two wrongs with that one. You guys know what I mean by that, right? So Dalton Kincaid stolen away from the Dallas Cowboys by the Buffalo Bills. Jerry Jones can deny it all he wants, but Jerry Jones wanted Dalton Kincaid. Brandon Beane said, not so fast. I'm going up for this guy. Snooze, you lose. And Jerry Jones snoozed and he lost. And we got Dalton Kincaid because of it. And that's very exciting. You know, just that alone is extremely exciting. Now, a thought that I had in the days after Dalton Kincaid was drafted by the Buffalo Bills, you know, initially I was not as thrilled with this pick as most. Initially, I thought this wasn't necessarily a need position. This was a player that, granted, I love the player, really liked the player. He was my number one tight end coming into this draft for a reason. But I thought, really, that's the direction we're going in. But the more and more that I thought about it, the Buffalo Bills have been trying to find a Dalton Kincaid-esque player for quite some time, whether it was Tyler Kroft, whether it was O.J. Howard, both guys, former starting tight ends that were looked at as potential 1Bs to Dawson Knox's 1A, and now potentially, based on the potential and the skill set that Dalton Kincaid possesses, we could be talking about Dalton Kincaid being the 1A and Dawson Knox potentially being the 1B. But I would like to look at that in a complementary way. I don't want to say that in a way that puts down Dawson Knox, because you guys know it. Throughout the years of me talking about Dawson Knox on this show, I love me some Dawson Knox, and I feel like this is a guy that does deserve more credit than what he's been given. And he went through a lot last season, losing his brother, of course, and he weathered through that as best as anyone could by being a great teammate on this team when this season had unprecedented, this past season had unprecedented adversity all throughout, right? But I do think that Dalton Kincaid is going to greatly help the Buffalo Bills on their offense, because he will provide them the opportunity to do something that not many other NFL teams can actually do, and that is run a two tight end set. And in doing so, the opposing defense is going to have to wonder, who do we double cover? You can't double cover Diggs if Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox are on the field at the same time. So if I'm Stephon Diggs, I'm actually looking at this draft choice and I'm smiling over it, because I think this is actually going to greatly help Stephon Diggs continue to do big things in Buffalo Bills red, white, and blue. And Dawson Knox, on the other hand, won't be asked to do X, Y, and Z. He'll only be asked to do a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and a little bit of that. And vice versa for Dalton Kincaid. I think that'll greatly help Dawson Knox. It'll greatly help Stephon Diggs. And heck, it might even help Gabriel Davis. And the thought process behind adding another weapon for Josh Allen to throw the football to, that's not a problem either. I don't mind that. I don't mind the concept of putting more talented pieces around one of the best quarterbacks in the National Football League. So you could call it the DK offense, the double K offense with Knox and Kincaid. I'm going to refer to it as the law firm Knox and Kincaid. I like that. The law firm. I like that. I'm gonna make that a T-shirt. Trademarked it already, not quite, but I'm gonna definitely put that in the Thomas Take merchandise. Apparel release coming out fall of 2023. So stay tuned for that. Okay. Dalton Kincaid is a beast. You saw the highlight that I played at the beginning of the show. I played it for a reason. That one highlight brought to us by 101 Football Highlights. That was a highlight that featured every facet of Dalton Kincaid's game that reminded me a lot of Dawson Knox. Maybe Kincaid has a little bit more athleticism to his game than Knox does, but there was a lot of similarities. Sure-handed, big body, elusive, and he's got speed, despite the fact that he's got that big body. And the last time we saw an offense run really well with two tight ends, it was in New England. It did feature a guy by the name of Tom Brady, featured another local boy, somebody that you guys know really well, Rob Gronkowski, and another guy by the name of Aaron Hernandez that is famous for the worst of reasons. So with that being said, will we see shades of that? Will we see some shades of what New England was able to provide, the National Football League in 2010, 2011? And really what this pick means to me is in the sense that, Ken Dorsey was provided a huge opportunity to kind of stake his claim as the offensive coordinator and say, essentially, guys, listen, I want to be able to put my impact on this offense. This is an offense that I feel like I have a better chance at running with two tight ends as opposed to one. And these two tight ends, Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox, might be the two best young tight ends that the NFL has to offer, and they're on one offense. That's fun. That's exciting, and that's something that does add a new wrinkle to the competitive nature that has been the Buffalo Bills these last few years. So grading this pick is one that I grade the player an A. The portion in which that I had some problems with, right? The portion in which that I had issues with lies solely in the fact that the Buffalo Bills were picking 27th. There were a lot of teams out there that wanted wide receivers. And they wanted wide receivers because there were 4 really good ones in this draft. And who's to say that this is going to end up being, one of the best wide receiver classes in, recent NFL draft history? Who is to say that? We don't really quite know that. But I will go as far to say that these wide receivers were pretty damn good. They're not great, but they're pretty good. There wasn't one that overrated the other. They're all pretty even in terms of a top 5. There's always one flavor of ice cream that you like more than the last. That's always your go-to. My go-to guy in this wide receiver draft class was Jackson Smith-Njigba. And Njigba, I always say that wrong and I apologize. But that was the first wide receiver that was taken. And then from there on, it was okay. Addison, Zay Flowers. I don't know the exact order. I don't have that in front of me. My apologies on that. But while that was going on, the Buffalo Bills, while that run between 20 and 23 was going on, the Buffalo Bills just kind of sat there and they didn't target to trade up to move after one of those guys. That tells me one of two things. Number one, those 4 teams, as I mentioned when I talked about Kincaid last time, those 4 teams, Seattle, Baltimore, Minnesota, and there was another one. I'm going to find this out. 2023 NFL Draft. Let's just look this up while we have it in front of us. So the 4 teams that got the receivers. Okay, Seattle, the Chargers, the Ravens, and the Vikings. I forgot the Chargers drafted Quentin Johnston. Okay, so it was 20 Jackson Smith and Jigba. The 21st pick was Quentin Johnston out of TCU. The 22nd pick was Zay Flowers to Baltimore out of Boston College. And then Jordan Addison was selected 23rd overall by the Minnesota Vikings. And Jordan Addison, that's a dude. I loved me some Jordan Addison. So when looking at this, I thought, we got to move up, but not one of those teams was willing to move up because those guys fell into their lap. So what one of those teams is going to actually make that decision to move out of that pick when they don't have to? When the guy they wanted all along fell right into their lap. So Buffalo had to somewhat let some of those guys go. I do think Jackson Smith and Jigba was high on their radar. I do know for a fact that Zay Flowers and the Buffalo Bills came together multiple times over the course of the NFL draft pre-festivities that are like the visits and things like that. I do know that Zay Flowers was a guy that they really wanted and was highly sought after. But did Dalton Kincaid on their board, which position rankings aside, overall player rankings, was Dalton Kincaid a player that was ranked ahead of some of these wideouts? And I think you can make a case that he might have been. And if that's the case, of course, then I understand it. I understand that pick. It makes me understand the pick more. So to grade this pick, I'm going to give the Kincaid pick a B+. That's the way I'm going with this. And the reason I say that is because we're going to be able to see a few different things this season that we haven't seen in quite some time. Josh Allen, I think heading into this season, the Buffalo Bills are actually going to look at him and say, we actually have to value this commodity. We have to protect him at all costs. We have to provide him with as many safety outlets, protection as possible, because this guy is a unicorn of a player that most teams don't get to draft once, let alone, the way we did it, where there was a quarterback class that surrounded him, Mayfield, Darnold. We moved ahead of a few teams to take him. Josh Rosen fell into the top 10. And then Lamar Jackson, who was not rated that high by most teams, was traded up into the last pick of the first round by the Ravens. And we all know how that worked out. Allen and Lamar have far and away been the 2 best quarterbacks of that class. Josh Rosen has been nothing short of a bust for reasons that we could debate all day long, but he's been a bust. Sam Darnold hasn't worked out. Baker Mayfield, he's at this point a journeyman quarterback playing on like his 4th team in 3 years. So Allen worked out, and we won't see anything quite like Josh Allen in terms of the player and the storyline, maybe in the next 20 years, if not more. And this wasn't a guy that fell into the 6th round like Tom Brady. I'm not saying that. This was a guy that had the talent to be picked in the 1st round, no less traded up for in the top 10, but was a player that I felt like on that night, 80% of Bills Mafia was pissed, and I was the other 20%. Maybe 95% of Bills Mafia was pissed. I was the other 5%. Maybe 99% of Bills Mafia was pissed off, and I was the remaining 1% that was not, and just trusted the process like Sean McDermott told us to. And it worked out. We're knocking on that door each and every year. Hopefully they can kick it in this year. But adding another weapon for Josh Allen is no problem to me whatsoever. Now, the next pick of the Buffalo Bills 2023 NFL Draft is none other than O'Cyrus Torrence. And this pick was one that I talked about the offensive line being a big point of emphasis for the Buffalo Bills. And thankfully, the Buffalo Bills addressed it not only in free agency, but in this draft. They addressed it twofold. And thank God for that, because, of course, We want Josh Allen protected. We want Josh Allen protected in a way that is with only the best that we can muster. And boy, when I tell you, when I looked at all the offensive linemen in this draft, there was a select few guys that I believed were surefire lock first-round draft choices, and this was one of them. And you're looking at the headline there, round 2, pick 59. O'Cyrus Torrence was a first-round graded player by yours truly, Ryan Thomas. O'Cyrus Torrence was graded highly by many in the business that have been in this business longer than I've been alive. So I'm not just saying it to toot my own horn. I'm saying it, my rankings were this, their rankings were this as well. The talent with this man is there. I almost called him a young kid. That would be an insult to the sheer physique that this guy possesses that defies the laws of gravity. The fact that this guy can move in cleats on grass as quickly as he can for as large a human being as he is truly astonishing. When you watch the tape of O'Cyrus Torrence, he plays offensive lineman like a defensive tackle. He is nasty out on the field. And the fact that 6'5", 330 pounds, first team All-SEC, first team All-Sun Belt, consensus All-American offensive lineman falling to the Buffalo Bills at 59th overall. What was the knock on this kid that didn't allow him to be picked in the first round? I would like to try to find it. It'd take me a long, long time to find it. You get the point. This is a home run for the Buffalo Bills as far as what they needed, why they needed it, and how they were able to get it. It's mind-blowing that this pick actually fell into the lap of the Buffalo Bills. It's like a gift from the football gods that this dude fell into their lap. Now, a few things here in regards to this. Where does he play? Where does O'Cyrus Torrence line up on the field? Does he end up as a guard? Does he end up as a tackle? Played tackle largely at Florida. You know, Brandon Beane was asked that question, and his answer was very interesting, that he thinks that O'Cyrus Torrence could play guard. And I want to talk about this for a minute here, because this goes into what I've talked about already a little bit with Dalton Kincaid. I think this offense this season is truly going to be far different than what we've seen these last few years. I think we're going to see more physicality. I do think we're going to see more of a run game. And just as I had this thought this morning, you push the button to start the car if your car is newer, or you turn the key to start the car if your car is older. I push the button on mine, and I hear the news that the Bills signed 33-year-old running back Latavius Murray. I don't know the extent of the long-term plans that the Bills have for Latavius Murray, and I'm not going to overzealous this move and say that, you know, there's realistic plans for him. But the fact that that happened, it makes me believe that this offense will be based as a not running offense, but will feature the run game more in a way that's more effective than what has been these last few years. The run game has been a disaster these last few years. They haven't even tried to establish a run game these last few seasons. So it's really hard to have one when you rarely establish it. Now they might feel like they have the pieces up front to establish it, and a pulling guard like O'Cyrus Torrence, the size, the speed of a body that big, that could really open some things up for their running game. Damian Harris, especially, big lineman, bigger running back, 5'11", 220 bowling ball type guy. James Cook obviously can squeak between, the tackles. Another guy that I like, Nyheim Hines, one of my favorite players actually when he was with the Colts, in terms of fantasy, ads that have always been productive. with the limited touches that they receive. Maximum production, but not as many touches. I hope he gets more touches in the offense this year rather than just kick returns. O'Cyrus Torrence can affect that. And obviously, in the passing game, we know we're going to have one. O'Cyrus Torrence pass blocking for Josh Allen. Again, this is a pick that helps your greatest asset on your franchise, your quarterback. You got to do what you can to help your quarterback. These first 2 picks of the Buffalo Bills draft did that. And the only reason I gave the Dalton Kincaid pick a B+ was because I did want a wide receiver more than a tight end. I like the player. Just for the Bills, I wanted them to have more of a wide receiver-based offense, but I do like the idea of Dalton Kincaid. I gave it a B+. This pick, however, O'Cyrus Torrence, I'm giving this an A+ all day long. I love this pick. I absolutely love this pick. This is the right pick for the Bills, and this is a great pick for their offensive line. The first 2 picks of this draft I guarantee that these guys will be starters all season long for the Buffalo Bills and will make an immediate impact. All right, so the next pick for the Buffalo Bills, this one was one that I liked as well, but we'll go into it here. The 3rd-round draft pick, Dorian Williams, a linebacker out of Tulane. And this is a very interesting pick for a wide variety of reasons, but more than anything, most of us thought that the Bills would take a linebacker potentially sooner. A lot of the mock draft, quote-unquote, experts out there thought that Jack Campbell could go to Buffalo, thought that Drew Sanders could go to Buffalo, thought that, who's the other one? Nolan Smith, I believe, could go to Buffalo. But here we are, Dorian Williams, a linebacker out of Tulane, and 3rd-round pick, 91st overall. I truly believe that when I watched this guy's tape, I had to kind of rub my eyes a little bit to check and see, is this the opposite version, but same version, if you catch my drift? Matt Milano, the white version of Dorian Williams, the black version of Matt Milano. And oddly enough, one of the guys on the Buffalo Bills made that joke first. I can't take credit for that one, but one of the guys on the Buffalo Bills made that joke first. I believe it was Ed Oliver. My memory serves me right. But Dorian Williams and Matt Milano, very similar physically, 6'2", 225, 230. Dorian Williams is a small linebacker, but he's used as a will linebacker, not the Mike linebacker. He's on the outside, not the middle. But boy, can this guy tackle? Can this guy find the football, a nose for the football, killer instincts, kill or be killed on the field? He's got that edge to him that, dare I say it, I question in moments where Tremaine Edmonds had that edge or not. But Dorian Williams does. And, a lot of Bills Mafia was really pissed off at this pick. And the reason they were pissed off at it is due to the fact that ticked off, pissed off, whatever you want to say, is due to the fact that we have a great young group of linebackers that I know for a fact most people are sleeping on because they don't really know who they are. But the Buffalo Bills, in terms of who they do have right now, there's a linebacker on the team by the name of Terrell Bernard. And I think that the Buffalo Bills value him very highly to the point where he's the favorite right now to win that middle linebacker job that was left vacant by the departure of Tremaine Edmonds signing with the Chicago Bears. Dorian Williams, in fact, is more of a player that I think could take over once Matt Milano, is no longer around. And I say that he needs to be, Dorian Williams is going to be groomed by Matt Milano in the sense that, okay, once Matt Milano's gone, then you have that guy that takes Milano's spot. And Dorian Williams will have already eked out some starting playing time, of course, in the next few years. But this isn't necessarily a starter. This is more of a depth pick that could contribute if his number is called. They're going to give him the opportunity to check it out and become a potential starter. But I think that this is a pick that most definitely was one that they couldn't deny. You can't deny the speed. You can't deny the instincts. You can't deny the ability that the kid has to just understand how to finish a play. That is something that I heard so many times when I was playing football, finish. Don't just start, finish. And whether you're, on the outside looking into the ball carrier, at least be in the general orbit of the ball. And Dorian Williams, he has a nose for the ball, to say the least. And I really, that fact really jumped out at me in terms of his tape. And I don't necessarily know if he's going to be a starter right away. I would guess no. But their ability to develop linebackers is well known. Tremaine Edmonds was a Pro Bowler, and Tremaine Edmonds was drafted when he was 19. Matt Milano was a 4th, 5th round pick, maybe, that ended up being the best, pardon me, I'm just going to say it, one of the best, if not the best, outside linebackers in the NFL. So Dorian Williams, he should be very happy. He should be calling his agent saying, thank you very much for this opportunity. I greatly appreciate it. The next pick, and I didn't even give my grade, my bad. So I'm going to give this pick here, the Dorian Williams pick, a B-. I think that it has the ability to be even better than that, but just based on the fact that he's not starting right away, I'm going to give this pick a B-, and I'm going to go with just that fact that I think maybe a special teams edition first, then a defensive edition next. But hey, training camp, crazier things have happened. Don't be shocked if Dorian Williams ends up taking the spot. All right. The next pick here on the Buffalo Bills 2023 draft. I did it again. 2023 draft grade show is none other than Florida wide receiver, who is the opposite of short, despite the last name, Justin Shorter. The irony, 6'4", looks like a Greek god. This guy is a beast. This guy is a monster. And he is someone that provides the Buffalo Bills with something that they haven't had in quite some time, and that's size at the wide receiver position, sheer size. There were guys on this wide receiver list that, over the years in the McBean era that came and went as far as size targets. Do we have to mention Kelvin Benjamin? I guess. Kelvin Benjamin, unfortunately, for the opposite of reasons, we do have to mention Isaiah Hodgins, 6'2", 220, can jump, playing for the New York Giants, playing really well for Brian Daboll's New York Giants, mind you. But Justin Shorter here, wide receiver out of Florida, I really like this pick, and I like it for a few reasons. Now, when I look up Justin Shorter here, this was a guy that, oddly enough, one thing that fascinates me about the draft more than anything, and I'll just go into it like this. One thing about the draft that fascinates me more than anything is these guys now, more than ever, are very candid in what they want and who they are and their skill. They know how good they are. They know how bad they are in certain areas, right? Not bad, but where they need work, right? That's the right way to put it. Justin Shorter talked specifically in interviews prior to coming to Buffalo that he had watched a select few quarterbacks currently in the National Football League. Only tunes in really to watch Pat Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence, and Josh Allen. And the fact that Justin Shorter has the chance now to play with Josh Allen is really awesome. And he talked about that in another interview with the Bills, saying that he has watched more tape of Josh Allen than anyone realizes. And when I heard that, I thought that is phenomenal. That is great. Because that's what we need. We need guys that are dialed in. We need guys that understand who we have. And Justin Shorter knew that there was a distinct possibility after the Bills showed, plenty of interest in him, that there was a chance that he'd get drafted by Buffalo. So he wanted to watch as much Josh Allen tape as he possibly could to get a head start. That's the type of stuff that separates a good player from a great player. And that's the type of stuff that separates a rookie from a savvy, primed, and ready to go player. And I'm really excited for this pick. I think that he is a raw talent. There is a lot to like. And there's a lot of things that, need work on at the NFL level. 6'4", 230, 4.5 40, which is pretty average for somebody that height and above average among, some of the wide receivers that ran much slower 40 times. But the fact is he played 2 years at Penn State. He then transferred to Florida, and Florida was where he really cut his teeth, so to speak. This past year, 29 catches, 577 yards, 2 touchdowns during his redshirt senior season. Didn't play in the 2022 Las Vegas Bowl. Instead, he declared for the NFL draft. So I think this guy is a guy that is confident in his skills as where they are right now, to where he feels like they could be developed and molded in the right offense with the right quarterback. Man, he found himself a decent opportunity to do that. So I'm going to give this pick a B grade, and I'm only giving this pick a B grade because I think it's going to be so hard for Justin Shorter to really make an impact as a wide receiver right out of the gate. I think training camp, you go to St. John Fisher like I do in Rochester. If you do, let me know. I'd love to meet you guys. This is a guy that I'm going to keep my eyes out on. This is a training camp body that is going to wow Rochester. This is a training camp body that is going to allow people to see the difference between 6'1" and 6'4". 5'11" versus 6'1" even. Like, we're going to be able to see those little intricate differences in height, size, speed, strength, agility, all of those things with a player of this caliber. And I'm going to give the pick a B. I do think it could potentially be better than that. Again, I've said that about all these picks, but I really believe potentially these guys are off the charts in terms of what they bring to the table. So that's how I'm feeling in regards to that. All right, so going forward here to the next pick of the Buffalo Bills draft here. And I actually realized as I was recording this, I did miss one, and I apologize for that. But how are you guys feeling so far? As far as this draft, I'd love to get your thoughts on it. How are you feeling? I'll click your comment, and we'll go from there. So thus far, we had Dalton Kincaid, first-round draft choice out of Utah State. We have Osiris Torrance, a second-round selection out of Florida. We got Dorian Williams, a linebacker out of Tulane. And then 5th round in a trade down with the Commanders to pick up extra picks. I'll talk about that. We have Justin Shorter, a wide receiver, a tall one, out of Florida. So the next pick that I want to go over in this 2023 Buffalo Bills draft grade show is none other than offensive lineman Nick Broeker out of Ole Miss. And to get a value in the second round of an offensive lineman that should be picked in the first round, frankly, in Osiris Torrance, that's one thing. To get another offensive lineman in the 7th round, 230th overall, when I thought Nick Broeker was like a 3rd, 4th, maybe 5th round pick at worst, is just highway robbery. And that is the portion of this draft that I really want to hammer home. The Buffalo Bills surrounded their best asset with talent, whether it's talent that protects him or talent that is a safety valve for him with Dalton Kincaid. Tight end is a quarterback's best friend. So Nick Broeker, I had read several NFL draft magazines. I posted one today that rated Osiris Torrance and Nick Broeker as the 2 best guards in this draft, and the Buffalo Bills got him in the 2nd and the 7th round. So for me to give this pick anything but an A would be silly. I think there's a realistic chance that both of these guys could start on this offensive line. If, in fact, other guys that are already on the roster don't show up at training camp, these guys do, and they're hungry for the opportunity, they might not just win the opportunity, they might take the opportunity. There's a difference between winning it and taking it. And I think that could be the case for Nick Broeker. This is a pick that I really liked, and this is a player that I really liked, and this is somebody that I think, the guard position right now on this Bills team is no sure thing. There's been a lot of question marks. The right tackle position is no sure thing either. We know that Spencer Brown was another player that somewhat regressed. I don't know what to expect moving forward, but I really do think that Nick Broeker has a lot of ability, a lot of talent, and 22 years old, again, 7th round draft choice, second team SEC, and went to Ole Miss, played at a great college, great school, played, the cream of the crop in the SEC. And I love that they're valuing that now rather than taking small school guys. They value guys that have played the best of the best in college. And I think that that's the best way to gauge a player's talent. Not only is a player talented, but how did he hold up against the best that the college, ranks has to offer, that the nation has to offer? Who are the best players in the nation, best defensive linemen? That's who Nick Broeker was lining up against, and he did pretty damn well. So I really like that pick. The next pick for the Buffalo Bills in the 2023 NFL Draft was the last pick, and that was none other than corner Alex Austin. And realistically here, with Alex Austin, this is a move that I was happy that they were able to sneak in a corner here, because you can never have too many in today's day and age. This league is a passing league. Now, I don't know quite well whether or not Alex Austin can really be that type of guy to be a 7th rounder like Christian Benford. Only time will tell on that, right? But to give the Nick Broeker pick a grade, I'll go back to that. I'll give that an A for the record. That's an A, 100%. So Alex Austin, back to him, you really want to always have a pipeline at that position, the cornerback position. You always want to have guys in the waiting in the wings, because this is such a pass-happy league. And frankly, at that point in the draft, 7th round, frankly, 252nd overall, you're looking for an athlete at that position. You're looking for the best athlete, maybe among all the players that are left. And Alex Austin is a speedy corner, great tackler, eyes in the back of his head. I like what I saw from him when I watched his tape. Hadn't known much about him in comparison to the other Bills picks, but I did like what I saw. I'm going to give that pick a B-, just because I do think there's a little bit left to prove. So there you have it. That is my take on the 2023 Buffalo Bills draft. And of course, I want to just give a shout out to everybody that tuned in tonight. Thank you so much for the support. Greatly appreciate it. I'll be on 24/7 Buffalo Fandemonium tomorrow night with Scott Reed and a few other boys, Swank, Rob Mullen. Looking forward to that, to give my thoughts on this draft, much of which I will be kind of interchanging with this show. So at the very least, I'm not saying the same thing twice, but you guys know how I bring it. I like to keep things fresh. I'll add new analysis each and every time I'm on this podcast, so, or any other for that matter. So greatly appreciate you guys tuning in. A lot to be excited about. I think the 86 jersey number on a Buffalo Bills jersey looks pretty awesome with Dalton Kincaid's last name, the Kincaid name on the back of it. I have a feeling that maybe not this year, maybe not the year after that, but the year after that, we will start to see some 86s in the crowd. And heck, we might even see them this season. Osiris Torrance, the people mover, I think he's going to be a cult hero in Buffalo, and I'm really looking forward to that. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Go Bills.